happy spring. I am Donna from Scenic Roots Garden Center, and I am here to talk to you about the basics of prepping your soil gardens for the spring for veggies. Whatever you have, whether you have raised beds or if you're going directly into your garden soil, the soil prep is all still the same. So what do you do early spring? It's still a little too early to plant? Or is it? I'm going to talk to you about that in a little bit. But the most important thing before you plant is to get your soil ready for the plants. So first thing you do is rake up your gardens. You're going to pull any old dead plants that you didn't get to in the fall. You're going to pull any weeds that are out and about now, because sometimes we've had the fluctuations of weather where it's warmer, cold, warmer, cold. A lot of those weeds have a tendency to pop up. So we're going to pull those first. So rake up your gardens and get to work. A lot of times you'll have some perennial herbs in your garden, like this is oregano, which I know is here, but there may be some other plants in the garden that you're unsure of. If it is something that you're absolutely unsure of, leave it for a little bit. It's okay. It's not going to harm your garden. It's not going to take up this big, massive space, but it may be something developing later on, say mid-May, and you're going to look at it and you'll be like, oh, that's leftover garlic, or oh my God, that's leftover parsley, something. It may be something you want to keep. If you don't care, pull it. I'm not one of those people that needs to save every plant either, but err on the side of caution and keep what you're unsure of. Another thing that maybe you want to do when you're coming into some of your woody perennials, you have all these sticks. You want to cut those out too and trim things down. This guy has a weed right in the center of it. I'm just going to come right in and pull it out, and then he'll fill in over time. It's okay. All right, now that your beds are all weeded and cleaned of all leaf debris, pine needles, whatever else is blown in over the winter, I have raked over so I could see what my soil level is here on the raised bed, and it's nice and smooth. One of the things you want to do before you start planting is a soil test. I think it's very important, especially coming out of the winter. You want to know what nutrients you may be lacking. It could be as easy as raising your pH slightly by adding lime or compost. It could be you're deficient in calcium, potassium, all these things. So one of the easiest and most basic things to do is to grab a soil test. This tells you your pH. Now, vegetables grow in a certain pH, which tests the alkalinity, which is the sweetness of your soil, or the acidity, which is the acid in your soil. Potatoes can grow in a more acid soil, but the most of your vegetables like a pH of 6 to 7. So generally in that area. So what you do with these soil testing kits is they come with a little tablet that you mix with a sample of soil and water. I'll show you how to do that, but you want to make sure you get at least 4 to 6 inches down in soil depth to test, because that's where your roots are going to be when your plants grow. So I just take a little trowel. And you can see this soil already is so dark. You squeeze it and it lightly crumbles away, and that's what you want to see. You don't want to see a heavy sand-based soil because it'll just roll right through your fingers. A clay-based soil is going to hold a hard ball. So look for consistency where your soil will just crumble in your hands, has a really nice, rich, dark color. This is beautiful, absolutely beautiful soil. Open up your kit. In here, it'll show you all your directions are here, but you fill with soil right here. Again, make sure you get 4 to 6 inches down, because that's where your roots are, and that's where it's most important. It's not the surface level. Okay, so you're going to take your soil testing kit and you're going to just fill the bottom line. Your directions are in there, but you fill with soil just to this line. They come with these tablets, which is your activator. Pour that in. And then you're going to fill to the top with water, shake it up. When it settles, it's going to give you a color. And I just happen to have a sample in my pocket. So if you see this, this is the color that it forms. Now, on the front of your soil testing kit, it will tell you your pH. So if you're a dark green, your soil is too sweet. If your soil is an orangey color, you're too acidic. So you want to raise your alkaline level by applying lime or compost. So as you can see, this soil testing kit, it's about an olive green. So olive green shows you that we're at a 6 to a 6.5, which is optimal for growing the vegetables. If it were an orange color, it's too acidic. And if it's a dark green, it's too sweet. So you want to adjust those levels by using organic materials like a compost. Dehydrated lime will raise the pH. If you need more acidity, something like green sand or hollytone will lower and give you more acidity. So this is important. So already this garden has a very nice, rich organic soil. So what I do is I add organic compost. It's recommended for raised beds or whether you're doing in the garden every year to add about 2 inches of organic compost to your soil. It loosens up, it activates the microactivity in your soils. You have so many living organisms in the soil that you can't see, and by adding compost, which is just decomposed materials, that gives them the food that those microorganisms need to break down the soil and give nutrients to your plants. And that's why that is the most important thing to add to your garden. So if you do anything else to your garden, please add compost. And look at your pH level, because vegetables, leafy greens, tomatoes, beets, carrots, peppers, pumpkins, they do not like acid soil. So that's the other thing. You will have trouble with your vegetables if their soil is too acidic. So we're going to add some compost, we're going to turn it over, and this garden's ready to go. So I'm moving over to the perennial herb garden, and I just want to show you a couple quick tips to cleaning up after the winter. You can see all these dead stems here in this herb garden. We've got some thyme that's hidden. We've got oregano here. We do have I believe some lavender that I'm going to talk about in a minute. So to clean up your perennial herb garden, you want to come out with just some snippers, and you're just going to clean up all the dead stems. That's the first step. Expose all this young new growth that's coming out, that's buried with all these dead stalks. It's just like a haircut. I mean, do not be afraid to get in there, grab it like you're grabbing somebody's ponytail, and just snip it all right off. Don't be afraid. You happen to trim off some of the green like I just did here, it's not a big deal. It's going to grow back. It's a perennial. Comes back every year, right? That's what perennials do. So do not be afraid to get aggressive and get in here. This also allows you to see the size of your clumps that you are starting from the new season with, because you may decide that some of your perennial herbs need to be divided. And when you want to divide them, if you come in here and look at how big this clump is, see how it's starting to raise out of the ground and it's really dug in there. I would dig up this whole clump. Once I'm done cleaning up, I will dig up this whole clump and I will take a shovel and slice it right into 3 sections and then replant it in other places around my garden where I want it. I know it sounds simple, and it really is that simple. Dig it all up, slice right through it, replant it, and I promise you it will be fine. It will be better than fine. This is just spring cleanup. All you're doing is cleaning out all the dead, all the weeds that have come about, and then you can assess and look at what you have. Okay, so I have started clearing my herb garden, and I've come upon a lavender that I don't know if it's alive or if it's dead. So what we are going to do is we are going to trim it up so it's only like 6 to 8 inches tall. And I've always told people, if you're not sure if something is alive or if it's dead, I would love for you to wait until at least mid-May, Memorial Day weekend. That's generally, you need multiple nights at a certain temperature, multiple days at a certain temperature, soil temperature, multiple days in a row to force something to grow and for the root systems to truly activate. So I would love for someone to wait generally until like mid-May, end of May for a true perennial to see if it's going to come back or not. And then you can make the decision whether to pull it, replace it, or put something else in its spot. So I'm just going to trim out and leave about 4 to 6 inches of branches exposed. This also forces something to grow from the middle out instead of trying to give all its energy to the ends of the branches, where most of the time those are clearly dead. So you want to force it to grow inside out, and by trimming it down, that's what you're doing. Now we just need some warm days, consistent warm nights, and we will start to see if anything is going to start to flush from the middle or the sides of these stems. So while I'm at this garden, I wanted to show you, these are the rose mallow dinner plate hibiscus. They bloom late summer. Generally we clean these up in the spring also because we love to leave these seed pods for the birds. So what we do when we're cleaning them up for the spring, again, we're going to trim up all of these branches 6 to 8 inches from the ground. And what this will do, you're cleaning up all these dead leaves, these dead branches. These dead branches are not going to come back. This perennial grows from the ground up every year, gets to the height of 4, 5, 6 feet every year from the bottom up. These are dead, these will not come back. So this is why we clean them up, make room for all the new branches, looks nicer, and again, it's giving your plant room to grow. One note about the hibiscus, I'm going to tell you, these are the last perennials to break dormancy in the spring. So Memorial Day weekend, you do not see something, do not be scared. I'm telling you right now, don't be scared. Leave it till at least mid-June to see if it comes. Again, this is the last perennial to break dormancy. Doesn't matter how warm it is beforehand, always Memorial Day weekend or a week or two after, trust me. Well, as you can see, it's spring, it's raining. Please stay tuned for the next episodes because we are going to guide you through the spring season on how to plant, what you can plant, and how to care for it as the season goes. So stay tuned.